Hi, and welcome to Acting is Everything. One of the great reasons for living your life as an actor is that it is everything that you do, everything that you're thinking. When you go to a museum, you look at the paintings and you figure out, well, gee, if I were playing that role of that woman for me in the picture, in the painting, or in the sculpture, who would I be? What would my life be? And I believe that we create our own lives. There's, of course, the secret is out there, and the law of attraction, and we've been hearing a lot about that. And actors, one of the newest recruitments that we've taken on is life coaches. And that's been going on for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. I think it's been very strong. And I have my own personal life coach. And I've been with her for almost 2 years, or maybe it's more than 2 years. Is it 2 years? I think it's over 2 years. And it's really, really changed my life. And one of the fun things about producing your own show is having on your favorite people. So Wendy is a constant inspiration. I first went to a seminar that she was teaching about setting goals, and we'll be talking more about that. But I was going for research for the 11th edition of the book because, of course, I didn't need it myself. And it was winning strategies and goal setting, and I wanted to tell actors about it if I approved. And so I showed up on a Sunday morning. This is the last thing I want to be doing. I do not want to be there. And of course I went in, and in about 8 hours my life changed. Well, my life probably changed in a couple of hours. And after that, and I had won a free life coaching session because my check had beat everyone else's, I guess. And see, that's what you get for being organized. And so I had my first, and I put off my first free session. I didn't know what I would talk about. And finally I said, well, I emailed and said, I don't know what to talk about. So I can just waste it and we'll just talk. Well, of course, that was life-changing too, and here I am 2.5 years later, and I talk with Wendy every 2 weeks, and she's really, really taught me how to enhance my life. I care about joy, I care about pleasure, and I care about fun, and those are the things that are important in my life. And I had all of that beforehand, and now I have a lot more. So I'd like to introduce you to Wendy Haines.
Hello.
I'm so glad you're with me, and you are such an inspiration. If you would talk about, you're an actress, and what have you been creating for yourself, even just since I've known you?
Oh gosh. Let's see. So in the last couple of years, it's been a great couple of years. I've booked over 15 commercials. So it's been a very lucrative couple of years, which is great. And I've also done a lot of indie film work in the last couple of years, and a number of films are out there doing well in the festival circuit. And also have stepped into the world of creating films and co-wrote, co-produced, and acted in a short film in this last year that just played at its first festival, and it won for the best suspense short film, which is a total surprise. Yeah. So now I'm an award-winning filmmaker too. It's pretty great.
And in your personal life, you've created a wonderful hunky man. You guys bought a house.
Yeah. It's been incredible. Just completely transformational last couple of years.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you owe that success to? I want to show the her little pamphlet says, "Are you ready for success, fulfillment, inspiration, living on purpose, creating the life you want?" And then ignite your career. That's what she's been busy doing and what she's been helping me do. So she is the authority. So how did you do that for yourself?
You know, it's interesting, but everything that I teach, whether it's through my workshops or through my life coaching, is everything that I live and have lived. And I reached a point in my life where I had been, you know, I really wanted to start changing my own life. I was running up against a lot of dead ends and finding myself maybe in a typical actor place of feeling like I was doing everything, but nothing was happening. And really kind of hit a bottom in a way where I got totally frustrated and disheartened with being an actor.
Did you move here from someplace else?
Yeah, I did. I moved here from Seattle. I'd lived around the U.S. quite a bit, but moved to L.A. and thought that I was totally ready, you know, to step into the real world of acting. Because I'd been working a lot in Seattle and knew that I was ready to make a go of it here in the big city. But I expected to step into town and just be instantly discovered and whisked off to success. Didn't know if anybody out there ever thought that or not.
So you expected someone else to do it for you?
Totally.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was diligent, you know, in certain things. I was in class and doing all the things that I thought I was supposed to be doing to be successful. But little did I know, everything within me was holding me back. Beliefs that I had about myself, beliefs that I had about the level of success that I deserved.
What kind of beliefs would that be? What?
Well, I think that I was.
Is this a belief system? Is that
for sure? And you know, so
genre
much.
Would.
Yeah. Conditioning really is a way to summarize it. Everything that we've been taught, or shown, or experienced, or heard in our lives that makes us who we are, or that formulates our beliefs about ourselves and about the world that we live in, and what's possible in that world. And so I was one of those actors that had a huge, big dream for my acting career and for my life. But what I believed was possible for me personally was pretty limited. Like I used to think, oh, well, those lucky people get the big breaks. Or, oh, if you're pretty enough, then you'll be successful. Or, oh, well, if your family is already hooked into the biz, then you'll be successful. So I had all of these things that were excuses for why I wasn't really living the kind of life that I wanted. And so when I reached the bottom of my own frustration, I really opened to new teachers to come into my life. And you know, and all sorts of new tools and things began to inspire me and tap me into my true passion around why I love to act, and also began to help me chip away at those old limiting ways that I was believing about myself or what was possible. And also, and again, like this is everything that I coach about and that I teach. And then, even more importantly, I started to give voice to that big dream and that big vision for my life.
What do you mean, voice?
I think that I held my great aspirations in kind of a secret, protected place within me. And I didn't really reveal it because it felt a little scary to do that. Like, well, what if I reveal that and then it doesn't come true? Then I'll be disappointed. Or what if I reveal that and somebody judges me for wanting that or believing that I could do that? And so in that, even in that practice, like not revealing my dreams, well, how are they going to come true if I don't let them out? And so that became a part of my process too, getting really clear and bold about the goals that I set for myself.
Now, do you believe that you create your life?
Absolutely.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do. I believe that we create our world from within. That what we see show up in our lives or what we see around us is a reflection of what's going on inside of us, which is a big responsibility in a way. Like we have to take ownership for what we see around us. We can't blame others or other circumstances if we're unhappy. And it's also very empowering and liberating to live that way because I get to decide. And I get to be accountable for how I'm responding to my world. And so if I find myself, I think about my acting career, if I find myself frustrated because I'm not getting enough auditions, then instead of sitting there going, oh, my agent is just lame, which my agent isn't, by the way. I love my agent. But, you know, some people will blame another source and say, well, that's why. So I'm going to sit here and just be mad about it. Instead, taking it on and saying, all right, is there anything within me that's holding opportunity at bay? Is there anything within me that doesn't have the doors completely wide open to receive?
So what did you find inside you that...
Well, gosh, if I could really, in the limited amount of time that we have, if I could kind of touch on the practices that I believe are the most important. One of them is to live in a bold way, to be willing to risk. And I believe that successful people are willing to risk. They're willing to live on their growing edge, and they're willing to leap again and again into that void, into that unknown, into that, oh my gosh, right?
Did you have leaps that you took that weren't successful?
Actually, no. I've never had a leap that's not successful, because even if I discovered that I may have leapt and I ended up not where I thought I would, there was always such rich learning in just taking the leap, and also so much growth in the act of leaping. You know, I think that the reason we don't live bold lives is because we're afraid. And so we stay hidden, or we stay stagnant. So when we're in that state, then we're allowing our fear to define our lives and to limit us. But if we just get willing to act in spite of fear, then taking that action actually grows you so that you become bigger than your fear. And sure, it may still linger there now and again, but you're so much bigger for having experienced acting in spite of the fear. The fear is no longer in control, and suddenly you have revealed more of who you truly are in your life and in the world.
Well, actors know about walking through their fear because they do it in acting class when they get up in front of the people, and I mean, actors, I don't think I've ever met anyone who wasn't afraid when they were acting, or when they stepped on the stage, or when they went on the set, or it just kind of, because it's in one way seems kind of magical, even though we know we're in a craft and we can do it, but there is that question, and you hear even much older actors question themselves, can I do this again?
Yeah.
And of course they can.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the things I love about actors, and that I love about working with actors, because it's true. We wouldn't choose this life if we weren't already a risker, if we weren't already willing to live outside the box a little bit. But I do find that there are some actors that hide behind, that still hide behind their fear. That maybe they're willing to risk on stage, but in life or in the business of their career, they're not living as boldly as maybe they yearn to.
And how do they learn to take those steps? Say someone is watching this who doesn't have classes, who doesn't have that available. They're just going to have this little half hour to understand steps that they can take in their life.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say start where you are, and get bold about dreaming into where you want to be. So reveal a little bit of that deep desire for what you want your life to really be. And then decipher from that. I would call that a vision. You know, when we vision our lives, when we imagine, where do I want to be a year from now? Like, if I could write the fairy tale story of where my life would be 1 year from now, if I were living into the highest vision of what that is, what would it look like? So you allow yourself to express that vision, write it down on paper. And then look at the vision and specify a couple of goals in that vision. Maybe there's an actor that's watching this that doesn't live in Los Angeles, and they have this yearning, this knowing in their heart that, yeah, that's where I really want to be. Then maybe it's in their 1-year vision that they formulate a plan to make the move happen. So maybe they set that as a goal. All right, within 1 year, I'm going to live in Los Angeles and be there to go for it in my career. And so set the goal. And then what happens, just by writing a goal down, providence moves. And all of a sudden, you'll be aware of all sorts of circumstances that will come in to support that. But you got to be brave, right? That's a risky move.
What if you don't feel like you deserve it?
Well, you may confront that along the way. And, you know, I think we all have...
Who would not deserve it?
Well, everybody deserves to live the highest vision of their life.
They do?
Yeah. I tell this story in my one-day workshop that I draw a puzzle piece on the board, and I talk about the way I see it is that we're all a unique piece of this vast puzzle of the universe, and that as we live fully into who we truly are, as we reveal that dream that we have for our life and for ourselves, then the universe gets to be more complete. But when we play small or live the life that we think others think we should be living, you know, we're not fleshing that piece out. And so there's a little hole in the universe that's supposed to be that unique individual. So I love cheering people on to really live fully into who they are because, wow, I mean, the whole world gets to be a richer place.
Wow, I really believe that hole in the universe. Yeah. And that's what happens when someone leaves. They'll leave a hole in the universe in your life.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other story. So, is there a way to, intellectually, you may feel like you deserve something, but your actions aren't taking you, that it doesn't look like you deserve it because you aren't really going for it, or you're thinking, I need to be what they want me to be, whoever that is, whether it's your teacher or your director you think may want to be. Can you address that?
Yeah. There's a principle that I talk about in my master class, but also with coaching, that I call disobligation. And it's really recognizing where we plug into the outer world. If I could simplify and say that this work is about looking at your inner world, changing your inner world so that what shows up around you and the results in your life will transform, will change to reflect that. And so the times when we plug into the outer world, we make other people's opinions, other people's thoughts more important than ours. Then we're putting all of our energy outside of ourselves. And so a trick is to catch yourself in the act of that. Like, well, I'm not doing X because my love in my life doesn't approve, right? Then you've plugged into them. You've said, okay, you control my life.
You're more important.
Right, you're more important. So stop yourself, unplug, and then plug into that truth within yourself. Plug into who you truly are. And just the act of doing that validates. Like it's the act of saying, no, I deserve to honor what's true for me.
Wow, yes.
Yeah. And that's an ongoing practice, every day.
So many times actors don't seem to realize that the most important asset they have is their uniqueness.
Oh, that's so true.
And it feels like that's what you're talking about, is developing yourself for yourself. Now, how do we confront that's selfishness, and that's, we're not supposed to live that way. We're supposed to think of others first.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you
I'm glad you brought that up. This is such a good point. So, yes, first of all, I totally agree that when you step into the uniqueness of who you are and you start honoring and expressing and being in that, boy, that's when you're going to notice as an actor, results completely change in your life and in your career. I experienced that firsthand for sure. So, so the practice is define your own niche by knowing who you truly are and honoring what that is. What do you love? What do you feel passionate about? What resonates as true for you? Like all of those things make up the package, the unique package of who you are. And then the flip side of the coin, as you mentioned, is, yeah, we have a whole history of conditioning that invalidates us being who we truly are. You know, from little kids. Be quiet, you're being too loud, as the little kid is standing in the middle of the living room wanting to sing top of their lungs, right?
Right.
Hush, be quiet. So we can listen, we can hear those thoughts in our own head, like, oh, well, you know, if I really sing full out, then I'm going to be in trouble somehow, right? Just notice your thoughts and ask yourself, well, does that thought serve what I truly want to create in my life? Does it serve me singing on Broadway to think that if I sing full out, then I'll be reprimanded? Well, the answer in that case would be what?
It doesn't serve.
Doesn't serve.
No.
And so you can recognize, all right, well, that's just a thought. It's actually not the truth. It's not the truth about me or not the truth about what's possible for my life. It's just something that I learned along the way.
So you're talking about rewriting your stories?
That's a great way of putting it, yeah. Rewriting your stories, pulling the weeds, you know, of the old thoughts, the old beliefs that don't serve you. You know, you're creating a garden in your inner world, right, of who you are and what you really want.
Right. And you were talking about setting goals. How do you know that they're realistic?
That's a good question too. Well, nothing has meaning except the meaning we give it. So,
What does that mean?
if I set a goal that says I'm going to book 10 national commercials this year, someone might say, yeah, right, please. You know, that's pretty
Not gonna
unrealistic.
happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, so better play it safe. Why don't you set a goal of 5, and then you won't be disappointed if it doesn't happen. Okay, so that's what someone might tell you. So, personal story, this is I guess a year and a half ago or so. I set the goal. It was time to set my yearly goals. And I was like, all right, 10 national commercials. And it made me scared to write that down on paper. It brought up fear for me. And I recognized it. I was like,
Well,
oh,
and you're the teacher,
wow.
and you're the one who says set your goals and do,
Right,
and people
Yeah.
are going to know if you don't reach it.
Right. And so all those thoughts came up. And I was like, okay, thanks for sharing. Like those, okay, that's that whole peanut gallery. Okay, fine. And I said, well, if I don't reach 10, what if I reach 8? Wouldn't that be fabulous? So I'm writing down 10. May as well reach really far. And let me tell you, I surpassed that goal. And I never would have believed it was possible to even get 10. But what happens when we set big goals that scare us, and then we continue to take action in spite of fear, then we allow miracles to take place in our life. And a miracle is just something that we didn't know was possible before that actually happens. And so it's a beautiful, setting huge goals is a direct way to participate in the process of creating miracles.
Is that the law of attraction? Is that part of what the law of attraction that we've been hearing about from The Secret? And is that what that is?
I think it's very connected to that. I think it's an active way that we can put our thoughts or our intention into form by writing it down, right? It's a way for us to be specific. So if we have a goal and it's 10 commercials, then it's giving my life force a place to focus. And then and it's also a very clear message to the universe. Like if you tell the universe, Yeah, you know, it'd be really nice to maybe book a couple of commercials this year. It's a very muddy message, right? But if you say, here's my goal, 10 commercials, yeah, it scares me, but it just scares the old me, like the conditioned me, right?
Right.
That looks at the world and believes it to be possible in a certain way.
Right.
That's my goal. There it is.
Wow.
And you know, the other thing I'm inspired to say about goal setting is that that you can set goals, and maybe you didn't get 10 commercials, maybe you got 5, but celebrate every single one of the 5, and guess what? You're going to be loving the journey, and that's really the point.
Right, it
Yeah.
is. Well, we have 1 minute left.
Oh my
I
goodness.
just got the sign. And so I want to say to the people who are watching, thank you so much for looking at this piece. And I hope that you know, you learned something from it, or it awakened something that you were thinking about anyway. And thank you, Wendy, so much for being with me.
My
We are going to continue talking, so don't cut out now. But thank you. One of the things that I wanted you to talk about is the jar with the rocks and the sand, and that was so meaningful to me.
Yeah.
So what is that? What do you use that for, the demonstration, and what is it?
Well, some people use it as a time management tool. I use it also as a life focus tool, like how do we live a balanced, fulfilled life? So if our life is an empty jar, that's our time. And if we fill it with, if we've got boulders and pebbles and sand and water, if we fill it with water first, which may represent like all the extraneous things we have to do in life, like laundry and going to the store and whatever. If we fill it with water first, we can't put any boulders in, right? Because it'll what?
Everything will come out.
It'll overflow. The boulders represent the really important things in your life: relationship, passion, love, joy, creativity, whatever that is. And maybe it's time with your kids. Maybe it's vacation, right? You put the big rocks in first. Then you go to the next level down, the pebbles, the things that are the next most important. In the big rocks, you may have health.